What does that mean?
Kim wanted me to ask you about the end of the regulation. I think you mentioned it post game that there was maybe a switch in coverage, or there was something.
Yeah, we tried to run a hammer. You know, if we can get a quick 2, we're going to take a quick 2. If we can get it, and then we're going to foul. We had no timeouts. And then if we're able to get a good look on a 3, we felt like if we could keep 4 out, get Severe into the lane, and they stayed connected, put a bigger guy on them. So it didn't work the way that we thought it could possibly be planned.
But after Moses, after the miss free throw, I think there was an.
Oh, okay, yeah. So what we did, way out. So you're talking about? I thought you said the last when we were down 3. In regulation, so basically, we were preparing for him to make, and so we foul 10 seconds or less. So we put smaller lineup in. We're going to full court, take time off the clock, foul, go to the foul line, rebound. And so we were in that alignment. And I think people were surprised that he missed. And they kind of were like, "Oh, we're supposed to foul," and it was. And I told the guys it was, you're never out there. Well, if he misses,
right.
It's always he's going to make it. And you kind of have the good vibes. But it was one of those lessons we've practiced. Fouling. We've practiced, all those situations. That was one situation that kind of caught us on the miss. Like, oh my, now what? Because you're not fouling, you're trying to contain, and they scored too easy. Happened last night in the Kansas game.
I was gonna say, it looked like Keon was kind of in no man's land. He kind of couldn't.
Yeah, we were gonna switch, and they went, and they kind of slipped, and so he kind of helped, saw, and then everybody else was connected to 3-point shooters because you don't want to give up a 3.
Sure.
And so. The thing that I was really, what we practice, what we didn't do is even if they make a 2, 4.8 seconds, if we get it out quick and get it to Severe, you get a layup on the other end. Defense isn't set. They're celebrating. You're just going down, right. Kind of like what they did to us. Because on the miss, they even got a longer outlet than they would have if it was a make. You had to take it out of bounds. You're pushing up. They got a miss. We're like this. They threw it up to Rice to take time off the clock because you're.
And just to double check, you're definitely in that hypothetical. If Moses makes the free throw, you're fouling.
Yeah, that's what we believe.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I would, again.
You kind of.
I've done that since I've been here. Yeah. Yep. Foul up 3. A lot of people don't. We do.
Also curious about the end of the first half with Yakimovsky.
Yeah.
You guys had fouls.
We had 4 fouls, or had 3 fouls to give. We had 3 fouls. And we went through that same thing yesterday, and re-scripted it. Understanding we weren't connected how we were supposed to be connected. He made the pass, and what you have to do is what you have to be careful of, and why in the full court if you foul up 3, you foul in the front court, because even if a guy tries to shoot it in the back court, the refs aren't mistaking it for a jump shot, right. And it's a shooting foul for 3. Right. In the half court on the sideline out of bounds, he passed it. You almost had to. You had to foul on the catch, which would have taken 1 second off the clock. We were worried about foul trouble. That was a situation we haven't practiced, which we need to.
We're doubling him.
Well, not even doubling him, because at the end of the day, it's like it's going to be it's 2.8 seconds, yeah. And so he made. We only there was no player on the court with 2 fouls or more, so you don't want that situation. Right. But he made the pass, and then he passed it right back like a boom, boom, which you better do this. And if Yakimovsky got it and you fouled Yakimovsky, it could be called a foul in the act of shooting, yeah. Which I've seen multiple times. And so it was one of those things where, again, we had to practice it yesterday in the sense of if we're in this situation again, you got to foul him on we did the clock like a reenactment, and so it was that it would have been 1.8. They take it out, but at least you understand now what their alignment, what they're trying to do.
So it wasn't necessarily a lack of awareness; it was just a better play.
It was a better play, yes, and he made a contested 35-foot. So when you watch the shot, hands here, shots here, for most coaches, but with 2.8 seconds, you could have fouled 2 more times, right. And they don't even have a chance to get a shot if executed properly.
And like they said, that was the plan.
In theory, yes. It was kind of like, remember last year, Arizona State, before overtime, we told them to foul, and then we didn't foul. Then they got in the corner, and we fouled a three-point shooter.
That's what I was trying to figure out if
Yeah.
it was maybe a lack of awareness.
Yeah,
or
no. Yeah, miscommunication.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
As you take a look back at that game, any overarching sort of things that sort of jump out at
You know what? There's. You know what? Like, listen, I thought it was a heavyweight fight. Like, I thought it was a championship heavyweight fight. I mean, I thought they played their best game of the year, and I felt like we were close to playing our best game of the year in terms of offensively. I mean, there was 6 or 7 possessions. They score, we score. They score, we score. We finally get the stop that we needed. He travels, and then we're in position to win the game. And unfortunately, sometimes you miss here. The ball bounces wrong. Our double teams worked really good in the games, and then unfortunately in overtime, they went 1 for 5. We went 1 for 6. They hit the 3 and the 4 foul. It's just the separation. The margins become this. But after watching it, Purse, I was really proud of our guys. I mean, there's no consolation in losing, but I felt like we fought. I felt like, for the most part, we rebounded. We went to the foul line more than them. We only had 9 turnovers, a couple timely ones at the end of the game, which you can't happen, that we need to clean up. But for the most part, we executed the game plan how we wanted to play, and we put ourselves in position to win. And didn't finish the game in regulation the way that we felt like, and then we had a couple turnovers, and it goes back to executing. You got to be able to execute a play here, a play there, and one play can nip you in the butt.
In theory, when you get down to that game and you've got a guy, Keon, who scores a career high.
Yeah.
What are your better angels? I mean, are you looking, okay, he's at 35, everyone knows we got to get him the ball, or are you thinking decoy, or what?
Yeah, if you remember when it was tied and we went, I think it was the first play of regulation, we ran a play that we run, a guy went this way, traffic goes this way, and Severe went right down the middle of the lane and made a layup. So yeah, we work on situations. You never know how teams are going to play defensively. Sometimes they're in zone, sometimes they're in man. There has to be a lot of situational awareness where those guys understand. Sometimes we turn it over trying to get it to Keon late in the game, where they denied him, and where but there was you just don't know. You don't know if they're going to be a man. You don't know if they're going to double team. You don't know. You can scout, but there's a lot of changing. There's a lot of chess being played, But he had a spectacular game.
You mentioned those end of game denials.
Yeah.
Was that just them playing better defense than you guys were?
They did. We ran a play we call circle, and he was running around, and they were just really trying to deny it. And we tried. Sometimes it just telegraphed it and trying to and we needed to go to the other side, kind of like we did when they went this way, and Severe went right down the middle of the lane.
Right.
But things like that happen. It just a little bit. You go back to miscommunication, lack of execution. You never make a bounce pass to start an offense on the side, especially on denials. So there's a lot of things technically too that just can't happen. And if they're denying them, go to the other side. We've got that too. So
you mentioned the different scripting and things that you were doing yesterday.
Yeah.
How has the team rebounded?
I think our rebounding numbers are way better than they've ever been since we've been here. And I think a lot of it is to do with how good we run. And I mean, when you're a transition team and that's what they're trying to take away, if you say, what's your strength? You run. That forces a team to say, I'm going to send less people to the offensive glass. So there's a little bit of that. When we do rebound, we do run, and the teams try to stop Xavier in transition. They load up, and we're getting threes, we're getting layups. That you saw the way the team started really trying to play us. That was one of their adjustments. But it's when you look at that, they shot 19 more shots than we did. That's never a good thing. But then we shot 10 more foul shots, which in essence that's 5 more shots. So now you're at 14, and then they had 3 less turnovers, and then it goes back to that's offensive rebounding, and so and second chance points, and Every game's going to be a little bit different. I think we've really focused on it. We've been better at it. But they got a couple of them that we, got to get. They had ones where it's like you go and you make a shot and the ball gets lost, it goes over the backboard, and it gets it to be an alley-oop dunk. Sometimes the ball just bounces a little bit. I was watching the game last night. I don't know if you watched the Kansas State game, but there was a block shot from the corner. Great defense. But when there's a block shot from the corner, you're boxing out a guy, and you don't see that the ball's not going to hit the rim.
Moses did that.
Yes. And so and we didn't get it, but it was great blocks. Everything was executed, but it's just kind of somehow the ball just.
I guess instinctively when you got a 7-footer trying to block.
Exactly. So, those are all the ebbs and flows of the game,
In terms of just coming back and trying to bounce back.
Sure.
From a gut check, because you guys have been punched in the gut a few different
times.
In that way.
Yeah.
Some overtime losses.
Yeah.
Like at Colorado.
Yeah, sure.
How's the mentality of the team after a win like that?
I was so concerned after the Colorado game at home. I say concerned because I looked at you can look at your faces of your children, or you look at the face of your players. They know that we didn't play well at home. Great crowd. And we had 2 days to play Utah, which has been a great, team that's, and we played our best game of the year. And that said a lot about our guys. And then we had the week to prepare, so did Washington State. And we played well enough to win. In both of those we had a chance. The Oregon game here, Keon goes 5 for 12 from the foul line, which is just one of those things that just never happens. You lose a close game. And the walk-off, Pauly, San Diego State could have, you're 4 plays away from having 3 or 4 different wins that make you 15-7, and you're 3 more quad 1 wins. But what you really realize is the margins. It's a play here, a play there, and that's what when we lost Frank, our margin for error became a lot, more narrow. But, the thing that I love about this group is we bounced back. I thought we had a really good practice yesterday. We talked about how we're going to just get better every day. We've got mature people that are competitive, that want to win. And so it's hard, what are we playing for? Is our mission still accomplishable? Can you still accomplish that mission? And I think we can. We haven't seen our best game. And then as a coach, you just try to use sport as, we can't go out and play, coaches, but what you can do is you can teach them about life and how these lessons can help them be successful for the rest of their life. And I think that's what our staff has done a really good job in keeping things in perspective. This is the worst thing that's going to happen to your life. You probably had the greatest life of all time. But the successful people, they bounce back. You work harder. You work smarter. You do it together. Okay, if we're narrowly here, everybody's got to do 1% more, 1% better. We talked about our rotations. We talked about some transition. And even though we missed the foul shot in this, there was 10 plays before that in the first half and second half, the end of the first half, the sideline out of bounds. If we can execute these, we're not going to be in these situations again. Everybody always looks at the last 5 minutes, but so many plays before that impact that. So as a coach, that's what you kind of sit there in the wins and losses, feel sorry for yourself. You're going back to why me? Why is this? Why the bounce? Listen, man, life throws different type of bounces at you, and you got to be able to respond, react, get better. And that's kind of been our focus. And that's where I've been really proud of these guys,
In terms of your injuries with Pauly, he was unable to make it out of that game. How's he feeling?
You know what? He was better yesterday, but he couldn't practice the whole time. When you start dealing with your back, it's becomes a little unpredictable. I don't know if you've ever had back spasms. I've had them kind of mild, and I've had the ones where I can't even get into my car. I'm like holding the thing, going
Was it a lower back?
Yeah. And so he had that KJ shoulder, and that's like even in the Utah game when Braxton went out and Wilhelm had to play. These guys have been really resilient, and they've been able to really adapt as hard as it's hard to do. But Certain other players have stepped up. I think Anthony Holland's been a bright spot. I think he's done a lot of really good things. I think Nate Calmes has the potential to do really good things. Braxton obviously has a big ankle sprain, and so him even going out and playing, he couldn't do anything for a while, even in terms of warm-ups, but he was tough enough to go out there and play. But love this group.
I know that it was only a couple minutes with Corn, but did you see enough to think that you can get more out of him this
But
week?
I didn't want to play. I did it out of like an emergency because, he's so tough. But he's got an arm sleeve that keeps it here, and he's tough enough that he came up to me that day, Coach, I want to play. I'm like, well, you didn't practice, you know my policy. He said, I want you to suit up and warm up, and I'm gonna have the coaches watch you. But at the end of the day, I didn't even see you shoot a basketball. But what I do know is we might need you in an emergency because we have 8 guys possible playing, and so when Paulie left the bench, we didn't know if he was coming back or not. And so another thing that I do, I like if I'm going to play in the second half, I like that you got to play in the first half just to feel the game. And I felt it was too big of a game that I had to put him in for 2 or 3 minutes at the end. So was there anything I saw? No. The thing that I saw was that he's tough enough that he didn't have a week of practice and he wanted to play with an injured shoulder, and that says a lot about the kid.
Did he play yesterday? Practice?
No. He went on the side, and but I told him, I'm like, you got to get a couple practices in if you want to play on the Oregon trip. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna stick to my policy.
A couple more questions.
And with Frank, how is he doing?
Doing more, like he did a little bit on the court yesterday with our group, but nothing live. But he did we do 5-on-0, we do stuff like that. And so that's the first step. Really good. He looks good. He's been getting workouts in every day. The kid is, when he decided to play, when he did, he wasn't supposed to play until December. And he felt good enough, and we were like, listen, we're going to play you 8 to 10 minutes a game. And then once you get that confidence in the playing and doing that, but still there's no timeline.
As a coach, is it to a point to where there's only 9 games left here, to where you say, well, you're just not going to happen?
No, I always think the best plan for the worst. Hey, you know what I mean? Like, I hate to say it. It's kind of like I don't even have him in my mind because it's a great thing, and if he does, it's going to be a big difference. But on the flip side, I don't want him to be at 70% here. He has to be at 100% here to play for me. And if that was my son, that's how I would want my son to be. And so what we have to do is, obviously Braxton's got the ankle, but how do we get him better? How do we get Wilhelm to, and then if we get him house money, like we've gotten better. He comes in, gives us a bolt of energy, great defensive player. Our problem has been rim protection and the paint and those types of things. But, we just got to, house money if he comes back, but.
I mean, simply put, are you going to have enough scholarship players?
Yes.
I mean, are you going to?
Yeah, be interesting. Today will be big. Today will be a big day, telling day. And we've been getting reps in practice. He's never played in a Division I game, meaning that level, but a guy who he gives you a big physical body that can play defense, and has been great in practice. But could we go small? I mean, there's a lot of different things. At Cal, we went small for a long period of time, and that really helped us. So I think we're just looking at our options, with what we have. And this is the hand that we were dealt. How do we get these guys ready to beat Oregon and Oregon State? That's what it is.
I was going to ask about Oregon.
I'm not going to ask. I'm going to ask about Moses. You said last week that, you said it like all season. How do we get this guy more shots? It felt like last week was really one of those games. Like, how do you get? Well, he was 5 from 6. But how do you get Moses more shots?
Well, the best way, transition, the defense isn't set, so you got to find them. Number 2, a lot of people aren't leaving them. and so it's hard. But he creates so much traffic or so much energy goes to him that it can open up for others by him being on the floor. You could put him at half court and someone's going to be guarding him at half court. We went to go see Kyle Lutonen the other day play at SPU, who's a great shooter. And he literally ran. They were running in transition, like running to him. A guy could have got a layup right down the middle. And that's kind of like how Moses, the respect that Moses has. But we got to be a little bit more creative to try to get him some more openings because he's such a threat. He's such a threat. But yeah, it's been a focus.
It just felt like after he started 4 for 4 on threes, I'd like to like if he doesn't get like 10 shots in this game.
It's one of the reasons why Keon had 35.
Okay.
Because when Keon gets the ball, they are, and sometimes when you have Pauly and you have Saw, they play off and they play this and that, and so having those space, even Anthony Holland can really shoot it, but he only got 3 shots. But what he does is you got to pick your poison. Is it Keon Brooks from 15 feet, or is it going to be Anthony Holland for a wide open 3? And that's when you put those teams and those pieces together. They're spacers. But with that being said, Moses is more than a shooter.